Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology, and everyone, welcome into the program. Today on the show, we have a great company called Typewise, and if you haven't heard about them, where have you been? They have millions of customers, and of course, it's all about predictive AI and just replacing the keyboard, because let's face it, everyone from Google to Apple to Microsoft to really every major tech company has been trying to know what you're going to type before you type it. But I think that Typewise does it very, very well. And hey, this is something that can benefit everyone out there. It doesn't really matter if you're a slow typer, if you're a fast typer. This is a product for you. So we are going to talk to the CEO and co-founder of the company here in just a moment. But before we get started, computeramerica.com, just want to throw that out because we'll have a link to typewise.app if you'd like to check that out. Of course, it's you can find it in the App Store. But hey, computeramerica.com, that's all you have to remember, and we'll have a link up there for you right there on our homepage. So with all that being said, why don't we go ahead and just jump right into this. And once again, we have Mr. David Eberle. He is the CEO and co-founder of Typewise. And David, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, our pleasure. So this is a very cool product. We're going to be showing the website on the video portion, but I would like you, in your own words, to kind of describe Typewise. When was it started? What was its mission? And then, whichever order, a little bit about yourself. Have you always been in tech? What is your background?
Absolutely. No, happy to talk a bit about where we came from, because it was quite a long journey in a way, going through the different phases. But I think what always was at the core of the company is really to make our daily lives easier, because as you said it before, we spend about 1.5 hours every single day actually typing on our smartphones or our laptops. And the way we type hasn't changed in 150 years, when the keyboard was invented for typewriters. And even back then, it wasn't made for fast typing, but it was actually done in a way to overcome mechanical limitations of the typewriter. And that kind of stuck with us for 150 years plus. And there have been attempts before to rearrange the keyboard. There are much more efficient layouts out there. But, and that's probably the biggest constraint also to what we're up against, are human habits. And so we're very used to the way the keyboard works. We learn it sometime at school when we're, in our early teens or even before nowadays. And then that kind of sticks with us. And so that has always been a side constraint to whatever we do, because you can do all sorts of crazy things, but then nobody will ever use it. So we started by first focusing on the smartphone, because there we felt the problem was bigger. The laptop works okay-ish. And we thought, well, how would you design a keyboard made for 2-thumb typing and not 10-finger typing? And that's how this hexagonal keyboard layout, I think if you scroll down, you will see it there, came into existence, which is patented by now, pretty much globally. And it because the keys are larger, it kind of reduces errors by up to 4 times. And so that's probably the most annoying thing on smartphones, that you make typos. You don't realize you're making typos because you're staring at the keys or looking on the ground and you're walking. And at the end, you have some complete kind of garbage coming out, and some autocorrect who changed it to something completely different. And so I think that was the starting point. But then we realized, well, people, even though you make fewer mistakes, You still make mistakes. It's still like a small surface. We don't have haptics, and so we started working on AI technology with a very good institute here in Europe called the ETH, based in Zurich, Switzerland. They're like the equivalent to the MIT in Europe. And we got a sizable AI engineering team by now that works on this next word prediction. And so there we have some other side constraint, which is we don't have like billion plus users such as Google does or Microsoft and Apple have. So we had to create our own kind of data set through different ways of, and as well considering the privacy of the user. So we never wanted, and we don't do it, even today, and don't have plans to do it, is to collect what people type. So that what you do stays on your device and stays with you. The algorithm learns from you, but that doesn't get transmitted back to us as a company. And so that has evolved into a very competitive algorithm, which actually gives better results than Apple or Google. Mm-hmm. And now on the back of that, we created an enterprise product, which you see on top, which is a desktop solution. I think I exactly just had it there. Using the same technology, similar to what you get in Gmail, kind of as you type on a webmail application, it predicts the text and you just press tab on your physical laptop keyboard. But here we started working with enterprises and analyzing their data and past communication and create kind of bespoke AI models that become much more powerful than what you get in Gmail. And so that's something that came also now into existence, something we've announced during the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas just a couple of weeks ago, where we started rolling it out to like first enterprise clients globally.
And so there's a lot to unpack there. Great overview, but let me pull you back just a little bit. When it comes to artificial intelligence and typing and predictive typing in particular, I can imagine some listeners thinking, maybe they are the people who did learn to type on typewriters. Why is this a good thing? Why is it important to have predictive typing? Why is it important to improve productivity in that arena? Is it just because it's mundane and people don't like it, or is there actual benefit to, just typing faster?
I mean, there are a couple of dimensions to it. I think, if you speak maybe to like an individual user, I think there are many people that don't necessarily like it because it kind of prescribes what you should say. And I think we as human beings don't maybe like a machine telling us how we have to talk to our friends. Right. Even though they, over time, I mean, we're also repetitive, right? We're using certain phrases and so forth. And I think there it's actually so I think it's a two-edged sword. And for like personal use, I think there are instances where it's super convenient, like, honey, I'm late. And if I just want to get that out and I'm like in the car and I just want to, start driving and I don't want to text this message, it would be nice if I just got it with one click. But if I'm composing, I don't know, like a funny message, it's probably, I even enjoy composing that funny message because you're kind of creating it like a joke as you go. Yeah. And you don't want some pre-made joke appearing. You'll be like, well, what's this? Yeah. And I think for personal use, it needs to be careful that it's, and here we're like on technical terms, we're talking about certainty levels. So the algorithm needs to be quite certain that the prediction it's making, it's actually what you actually want to say, those exact words. And then it's probably very beneficial to you. That's the honey, I'm late one. But if it's not sure, then it should not do anything rather than giving you, like, let's say, bad predictions, which is get on your nerves. Right. And I think that's one thing. And the other one is also the user interface always needs to allow for you to make a correction or like intervene with the algorithm. One big thing is autocorrect. So autocorrect is extremely useful because if it does work, I'm saving time. I don't have to go back into my text and manually correct with the cursor on the phone, trying to get the word. And in the worst case, I delete like too much and it just becomes a big nightmare. So autocorrect is a very nice feature if it does the right thing. And if it doesn't, what we created is a so-called undo button, which allows you to just tap that button and it reverts to whatever. I don't think you see it on that video.
Is it this blue one down here?
No, that okay. it will be on top where the predictions.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that button basically allows you to kind of interact with the algorithm, and then it learns from you those instances where you didn't agree with it. Now, with the enterprises, it's very different, right? There you have certain jobs where you have a lot of repetition, such as in customer service or in sales and marketing or recruiting, where you're just happy. It makes your job easier. You can enjoy more coffee breaks, right? When you don't have to type out those messages. And also where the quality of the message is ensured, and maybe a more junior employee who's new to the job, it's the first time working in customer service, maybe you're not familiar with how you're supposed to communicate. If you get those suggestions, that's also very helpful to you. You deliver better quality in less time. So I think it really depends on the use case, whether it's a good thing or whether it can be annoying. And I think finding the right use cases and kind of calibrating the algorithm to react appropriately, depending on the use case, I think that's very important when using AI technology.
So, and we're going to wrap this up here soon, but I had a question because, of course, you had the Innovation Award for 2021, 2022. Congratulations on, all the attention that you're getting. But I wanted to ask you about the, why you think you are getting this attention, because, we've seen a lot of companies come out with a product that's tangential. It's, it's kind of in the arena, but, it's a very adaptation of what they already do. Do you think you're getting this attention because you have an idea, you do it well, and you stick to it? I mean, keyboards, it seems like a very simple concept, but to get this much acclaim for it, you must just be doing it really well.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. I mean, I think it's a hard question to think. Well, I mean, on the one hand, I think it's like it affects almost everyone on this planet. I mean, there are billions of smartphone users. I think 2/3 of the population or even more have one or more by now. And so it's a big thing theoretically. I think the hard part is the distribution, because people, like human beings, are like habitual beings. The keyboard just comes with the phone, and then it's not something you typically switch. It's the same with email clients. Yes, there are many alternative email clients, but probably 95% or more of email users just use the standard Outlook, Gmail, or Apple Mail clients. Mm-hmm. And so getting people to switch away from that, it's quite a challenge. And in the end, that's one. And then number two is also the keyboard. Although we use it 80 times per day, and actually saving a bit of convenience each time adds up throughout the year. I mean, this should be worth a lot of money. Oh, yeah. However, because you're getting a keyboard free of charge with your operating system, which also somehow works. I mean, you can use it. It's functional. So I think it's not something people would pay hundreds of dollars for every year. And so it's a numbers game. So I think to really build like a company out of this, and it does require quite a lot of people, as you said. It looks complex. It's like a few buttons you can click on. However, it needs to work in all applications. It needs to work in dozens or even hundreds of languages and language combinations and different screen sizes and so forth. It becomes quite a complex undertaking that it works perfectly well. So even a tiny mistake, because you use it so often every day, can become annoying. Whereas in your fitness tracker, well, if it crashes once in a while, well, you can live with that. But if your keyboard crashes once in a while when you're sending that urgent message, that's a no-go. So I think it's quite a technical, it's technically quite complex, but then you need quite a big user base to kind of break even with that, with a sizable team, you're replacing something that's already there. So obviously the awards are useful. It kind of gives us a claim, is saying, hey, it's not just some marginal benefit, but it's a substantial, let's say, add-on you can put on your phone. So that's great. So I'm obviously very happy about this, but still, I think the journey ahead, it's still quite long. So I think for us as a company of saying, okay, we're not just having one product, but maybe we're using the same tech basis to go into maybe one or two directions. It's probably also the right thing for the future growth of Typewise.
Yeah, and just recently you came out with your 2nd-gen keyboard, so obviously this will be iterated upon. There will be improvements. I'm going to leave this with the last question, and trust me, I have a ton more. We can go a lot of different ways, but it's great what you've done. But as always, what's next? What are you excited for? Obviously, AI technology is going to get better. Clearly, you are building up data sets, getting your team together, improving everything underpinning this. What are you excited about in, let's say, the next 5 years when it comes to Typewise?
Yeah, I think there are a few things. For me, I see a lot of potential in what I meant before with these different use cases. So kind of tailoring the AI and potentially also then the user interface that comes with it, depending on what you're doing at the moment. Are you writing a business email? To whom? What is this about? Are you dating someone? Are you in a dating conversation? And so forth, and potentially giving you assistance, not just in predictive, but there's a lot of technology around grammar correction, about semantics, context, about tone, and so forth, and how that can actually help us, rather from being something gimmicky. Okay, I save you a bit of time, into more, I can actually help you. And then that's not something that we do. We're not a hardware company, but there will be at some point a smartphone killer, be it the implanted chip that we'll get maybe at some point, and then also how that ties in with this language interaction, and how we can potentially be then a first mover. Now we're not the first ones. There have been keyboards around for the past 20 years on various phones and smart devices, but potentially we could be then one of the first ones moving into that next generation of devices and help shape the future of that as well. So I think we just need to kind of survive and get big enough until that comes. But that would be a bit how I see it.
Yeah. There's certainly. You have a good strategy because clearly you're getting in early. You mentioned that clearly this is a keyboard, but truly the business that you are in is predictive data set, maybe even someday voice, and just really communication. And it just happens to be a keyboard, but by analyzing communication, you're really hoping that if the next thing really is Google Glass, maybe we were all blind to it. Whatever the next medium is, you will have a foothold in how people like to talk to each other, not how they should talk to each other, but how they want to talk to each other, and that's where you come in. Do I have that about right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. No, and I'm sure that if I have it right, then and I'm sure that our audience has it correct, and I'm really happy that you could give us the time. I know that this was a quick interview, and maybe in a couple of months we can set up a much longer interview because this is fascinating. This is honestly the stuff I love to talk about. And everyone, once again, you can go over to typewise.app or computeramerica.com. We'll have a link right there. So, of course, David, I want to thank you again for coming on, and I hope that this was fun for you.
Absolutely. No, thanks a lot for having me, and happy to give you an update as well. In a couple of months from now, we will have a major launch in spring of the next version. So I'm happy to talk about that once it's ready.
Looking forward to it. And and everyone, once again, this is available now, Apple, Android. You can get it right now. Try it out yourself. And get in early. So everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. David, again, thank you for joining us. And everyone, Computer America, thank you so much.